we continue to follow the breaking news this morning. What is the stock market going to do because of this? China hitting back at the United States with an added 50% in retaliatory tariffs, bringing that total of tariffs on U.S. imports to 84%. Also setting in as we speak, President Trump's targeted tariffs, which include a combined 104% on Chinese goods. Now, this is rocking global markets, with Americans caught in the middle and staring down a reality that prices on most everything are likely to go up. CNN's Harry Enton is looking at that today and how that makes Americans stuck in the middle feel. How are Americans so far baseline feeling about tariffs at the moment?
They hate them. They hate them, and it's going in the wrong direction. I mean, look at this. Trump's tariff deal. You know, you go back to January, it was 48% who favored, 46% who opposed, so slightly more who favored than opposed. Look at where we are now in April. 54% opposed, 42% favor. Opposition's going up, favor's going down. This, bottom line, is a political loser for Donald Trump, and he is losing the messaging battle on this. Americans might have been a little open to the idea of tariffs coming into this administration, but since then, their opposition through the roof, Kate Baldwin.
We've heard from a lot of people that Donald Trump's supporters, they have more of an appetite to feel pain for longer than maybe when you're looking at the broader electorate. That is, for one thing, that we have definitely heard. On the question, though, that we've heard more and more growing fears that this could all lead to a recession. Some CEOs saying they think we're already in one. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, so this is interesting, right? We've been talking about Wall Street, and we've been talking about whether what happens on Wall Street is an indication of what will happen on Main Street. And take a look here. These are recession chances, chance of a recession, according to J.P. Morgan. In early March, it was already 40%. Look at where it is now, 60%, a majority. How about Goldman Sachs? In early March, it was 20%. Look at where we are now, 45%. At best case at this point, it seems to me, at least according to the experts, the chance of a recession is 50-50 when you average it all together. What is happening on Wall Street, at least at this particular point, has a pretty good chance of spilling into Main Street. And those folks who are thinking those tariffs are just something that are happening down in the stock exchange in New York City aren't coming to them. They may be in for a rude awakening and a rude surprise, Kate.
The real impact on people's lives is what matters most. But, you know, also in any White House, one of the things that they have to be worried about is the political impact on the president as well. What are you seeing? Yeah,
I mean, look here. I mean, the economy has traditionally been Donald Trump's strength, right? You go back April of 2017, his net approval rating on the economy was plus 5 points. It was positive pretty much throughout his entire first term. Look at where we are now, minus 12 points. All of a sudden, the strength of Donald Trump has become a weakness of Donald Trump. It's one of his weakest positions. And more than that, at the beginning of this administration, his net approval rating on the economy was plus 6 points, minus 12 points now. It's fallen nearly 20 points over the course of less than 3 months, Kate. Very clear that's a very big drop.
That's real.
That is real. It is very clear that the American people do not like what's going on with this tariff plan, do not like Donald Trump's plans for the economy, and they're taking it out on Donald Trump. And that's why his economic approval rating is falling, and that is why his overall approval rating is also falling. This could be the thing that we look back. Right now, his economic approval rating is swimming with the fishes, so far underwater. Could be that this could take Donald Trump's political career and make it swimming with the fishes as well.
Let's see what happens in the next 24 hours.
We shall see.
Harry, thank you very much.
All crazy.
John.
You know how that.
Joining us now, pollster and communications strategist Frank Luntz to talk a little bit about this. So, Frank, President Trump is delivering on his campaign promise to impose tariffs, perhaps over-delivering, as we talk to some of his supporters who are feeling this in a way that perhaps they didn't expect. How are voters seeing it?
Let's take a look, and I have to work backwards from Election Day, because Senator Tillis is onto something. It's not just what happens on Election Day, it's before that. The average voter makes up their mind who they're going to support around Labor Day. It's as though they have a lunch or a dinner with friends. They sit around the table, they talk about politics, economics, culture, and they make that decision. So Donald Trump definitely has time. There's a big but here, which is we've not seen a collapse in the market like this. We've not seen anything so clearly tied to a policy decision. The last time we saw anything like this was COVID, and that is clearly not what this is about. So in the end, are you more safe and secure today than you were 3 months ago? Do you believe the future is going to be better than the past? Are you going to have more money in your pocket tomorrow than you do today. All these questions which are being answered yes on Inauguration Day are being answered no right now. And so Donald Trump's numbers have suffered. And one last point. It's not Republicans because they back him no matter what he does. And it's not Democrats because they oppose him no matter what he does. We're looking at independents, and by better than 2-to-1, independents do not like this policy because they think that it is too much, too harsh, too fast, and that it's not being well received. That does not mean this takes down Donald Trump's agenda. It does mean that people are taking a pause and they're asking questions, is this helping America?
Patience also kind of plays into this, or at least the White House is hoping that it does, Frank, when the president urges Americans to be patient. He's saying, quote, don't be weak, don't be stupid. I mean, at some point, that patience must wear thin if the economy isn't trending in the right direction. How much patience do you think these voters will have?
So I need to ask you a question. Did he actually say, don't be stupid? Was that his language, his rhetoric?
It was a quote from the president.
Then that is a very bad thing to say. Voters do not like being told that they're stupid. If the president said, don't rush, be patient, good things happen in the long term, the public would have said, I'll accept that. I'll embrace that. You know, I'm a language person. When he's saying don't be stupid, there will be a lot of voters in the center that will regard that as a criticism, an undeserved criticism. Make no mistake, the language of tariffs, the public is still not made up their minds whether this is good or bad. They don't like the opening, but there's still time to recover if the language is proper. Number one, are we on a level playing field? Number two, does the American workforce get every opportunity that other workers get to sell their goods and sell their services? Number three, does it raise or lower the prices that the average American pays for the average items? And number four, and potentially most important, what does this mean for my bottom line, not just now, but 6 months, a year, and 2 years from now? If you were to ask those questions and answer them favorably, then these tariff policies would have public support. But the administration is doing a lousy job communicating this policy, and that's one of the reasons why the public has turned against it.
So, and Frank, look at what his advisors are doing, right? They're sending mixed messages about whether this is a negotiating tactic or whether this is the long haul. But then you have like Elon Musk calling Peter Navarro a moron, and the White House press secretary saying boys will be boys. I mean, I guess at least she acknowledged they're behaving like children. I guess we could say that if boys will be boys here. But what's the effect on people who are looking at the president's advisors saying all of these different and, insulting at times things?
The average individual doesn't see the difference. The average individual doesn't compare, what the Secretary of the Treasury says versus the Secretary of Commerce, or does not really pay attention when Elon Musk attacks the person responsible for trade. What they do see is a level of insecurity, a level of instability, and frankly, this time the stock market matters because so many Americans are using the stock market as the barometer of what Americans think and what the world thinks. And if it continues to crater, that in itself will be the biggest hurdle for this administration to overcome.
Frank Luntz, thank you so much.
And joining us now, Democratic Congressman from New York, Gregory Meeks, who writes in a new op-ed, Trump's tariffs are a farce. We who are in Congress can and must act. Congressman, thanks for joining us. You're arguing it's time for Congress to step in. So I want you to hear these comments last night from the president. Listen.
These countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate.
Congressman, he says, you don't negotiate like he does. Your response?
My response is, I didn't go bankrupt 6 times. He did. So I don't know why we use his judgment on how to negotiate. he's proven in his own businesses that he goes bankrupt. And what he's trying to do is to kill America with his false and his lying. Because clearly I'm talking to, as the ranking member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, I've had many foreign ministers and ambassadors that are coming to me. And what they're looking at is how to plan differently. They're not to rely on the United States. And some are looking back to dealing closer with China because of what his activities are. So it's bad for us internationally with our friends who he treats as adversaries. And it's bad for the average everyday working American who these tariffs are taxes to, which would make prices go up. So I wouldn't follow him. He's not a good businessman as far as I'm concerned. I'm from New York. I've seen him go bankrupt at least 6 times.
So, Congressman, what can Congress do?
Well, Congress should be, we have oversight. And he has come up with some false claims at different times with reference to these tariffs. And so what Congress needs to do, first, we should vote. We should vote so that we can make sure that there's transparency for all of the American people to see which members of Congress, from Democratic side to the Republican side, are voting in favor of tariffs and who votes against. And then we should then, if we vote the way I think for the American people, to make sure their costs are not going up, inflation doesn't continue to rise, the cost of groceries don't continue to move up, the way buying electronics and cars, then I think that we would vote on behalf of the American people. Congress has the right. We are a separate and equal branch of government, and we should not bow down and just do something because this guy's president who thinks he is the king, but the Constitution.
What you're seeing here is the data making it clear. We've seen in recent days, weeks, Trump lose special elections. Right, lose them in the sense that at the state level, they've lost them in the state houses. They've lost ground in federal races as well, whether or not the seat was lost. Because what you can do is you can look at the presidential election and say, in this area, in these counties, in these polling stations, Trump beat Harris by X. Often say 10, 15 points in this pretty red part of a state. And then say when the state house race happened, the equivalent areas went from plus 15 Trump to Trump losing, or Trump, being +1 or something like that. And what you're seeing with this new polling, guys, makes it clear that the collapse in Trump's numbers translate into massive midterm defeat for Republicans. Again, usually the opposition party wins in the midterms. Even the Republicans, they lost ground in the Senate last time, but even in the Republicans in 2022 did win the House. Not nearly by as much as expected, but they still won it. This time, they're not only expecting the Democrats to eke control of the House back, they're expecting deep red districts. Not the deepest red, but deep red districts, 10, 15 points favoring Trump, to flip. That could be 40, 50 seats flipping Democrat. All because Donald has made it worse. It's often difficult as it is for the governing party in a midterm, even when things go okay. But when the president causes a global, humanity-destroying economic collapse, you're going to lose some friggin' seats.